Hello, my name is Russell Myers. Welcome to Issues Unite. Let me approach the secondary title here before the primary title. All right, so last night, the time difference is always difficult to address uh, accurately, but uh, our time, according to us, last night, Moscow, Ukraine bombed Moscow. Uh, so, of course, the Ukraine cheering section went completely wild and called this a great success and all this kind of thing. But literally, all the bombs were actually shot down, but one of them did strike a building in the financial district of Moscow and did some damage. But if you see the video, which which you can find the video, the damage was only superficial. It was only on the surface, outer, side of the building, and it really won't take long. It will probably take days, maybe a couple of weeks to repair, and it just happens that that building was currently under renovation, so there are already contractors on site at that particular building. The issue with this is that these were Storm Shadow missiles, and those were given to Ukraine by the UK for the purpose of self defense. How is bombing the financial district of Moscow self defense? It's not. This was given to them with the agreement that they would not use these weapons to bomb mainland Russia. Of course, the West remains silent on that fact. But that is what that was supposed to be the agreement, and Ukraine agreed to that. Here's the thing that gets to me. On the front lines, hundreds of their soldiers died within the past 24 hours. Hundreds of their own soldiers died. How do you think that the soldiers on the front lines feel when they find out that they had these missiles, which could have been used to strike Russian forces, and those missiles are being used to attack Moscow, Crimea, etc. While they're on the front lines, they're watching their friends lose limbs, get killed, get blown to bits. While there's no storm shadow. There's not been one Storm Shadow missile which has been used to attack Russian forces on the front lines. Not one. Not a single one. They have launched dozens, scores of Storm Shadow missiles. Not one of them has been used against the Russian forces on the front lines. None. So, how do you think the Ukrainian soldiers feel while they're suffering, they're dying, and this is what happens. The outer edge, the outer side of a building gets damaged, which can be repaired in 2 weeks. Now, here's another aspect of this to consider. Yesterday, the Russia-Africa summit ended. A large part of that summit was trade. There is no way to say whether some of the African delegation didn't. Now, that was held in St. Petersburg, but there is no way to say whether some of the African delegation may have gone to Moscow, to the financial district, maybe, to further trade negotiations with business people in Russia. They could have been in the financial district at that time. Ukraine also bombed Crimea last night. So they carry out this massive bombing campaign on the last day, the night of the last day of the Russia-Africa summit, when they could be placing the African trade delegates and political representatives at risk. Now, of course, African delegates that went to Ukraine were encouraging Zelensky to engage in peace negotiations, which made him angry. So, chances are, he now considers the African representatives to be enemies. Anybody that suggests peace negotiations, he considers to be an enemy. Anyone. In fact, he made it illegal for Ukraine to even hold peace negotiations. Anyone in Ukraine that even suggests peace negotiations will be arrested and charged with treason. No, there won't be a trial. They'll just be thrown in prison immediately, automatically, without a trial. So, these are things to think about. All right. Main subject, Poland. Poland and Lithuania have gathered a large number of troops along Ukraine's western border. Now, a lot of people are saying, Westerners say that, they're there to help Ukraine. Well, if they're there to help Ukraine while Ukraine is in the midst of an offensive, why haven't they entered Ukraine to do this? Of course, Poland is part of NATO, so if they do actually do that, then, and they are fighting against Russia, then they automatically engage NATO in this conflict. And they violate the NATO treaty. Now, I and a number of others, including Brian Berletic of the New Atlas and Scott Ritter, we do not believe that Poland and Lithuania are there to help Ukraine at all. My impression is that Poland is under the impression, under the well-founded belief, that the Ukrainian defense is going to collapse within weeks, if not days. It's seriously only a matter of time at this point. Now, Poland, at one time, had certain parts of western Ukraine used to belong to Poland, and they still have designs on that area. Let me show you a map here. All right. So, so here's Ukraine, and here's the, well, there. All right. Up here is Belarus, and here's Poland. So the troops these forces are gathered right in this area, right in this pocket right here, right along from Belarus down to this pocket. This is where they're gathered. The areas that used to belong to Poland were Lviv, Lutsk, I believe all the way down to Ivano-Frankivsk, although it was named something else. These areas were annexed by the Soviet Union in 1939. This is a rough history lesson. And they were annexed and they were incorporated into Ukraine. Now, that did also involve parts of western Belarus, Grodno down to Brest, basically along this line here. I don't believe that they are going to try and enter Belarus. I do not think so. Because that will bring them directly into conflict with the Russian Federation, who has got troops in Belarus. The Wagner forces are gathered right, I wish I could draw a line with this, but right along here, right along this area. Now, Vladimir Putin has stated that if Ukraine and Poland come to some kind of agreement, that Ukraine will give these areas to Poland in return for their assistance during this conflict. They won't have any problem with it. But if Poland enters western Ukraine without that agreement, then actually Russian forces and the Wagners and Russian forces and Belarusian forces are going to respond and literally to defend the integrity of Ukraine. How's that for irony? But yeah, so different parts of western Ukraine and Belarus used to belong to Lithuania and Poland. If they are not going to enter into Belarus, I don't understand why the Lithuanian troops are there, but let's wait and see. I seriously believe that Poland is going to try and annex this area of western Ukraine. If maybe it doesn't matter what the outcome of the conflict is. They may go ahead and enter western Ukraine anyway, because why are they just sitting there? The literal fact of the matter is that if the Ukrainian defense does not collapse within the next few weeks, then this conflict can keep going for years. Russia has said that they're ready for a long conflict, but this is an indication. Are the Polish and Lithuanian forces just going to turn around and go home? Whether Ukrainian defenses collapse or not, are these forces just going to turn around and go home? How do you think the Polish forces are going to feel if you're going to keep them sitting there for 2 years? That's not going to happen. It takes a lot of money to keep and resources to keep a force like that supplied. And over that time, your soldiers are getting more and more disgruntled. They're not happy. They're not going to be happy. If anything, they're chomping at the bit right now. They either want to go home or they're chomping at the bit. There's nothing in between. Poland and Lithuania already have their own financial problems as a result of this conflict. Poland has been compensated for some things, but they're dealing with millions of Ukrainian refugees. They're having to feed all these people and house all these people, even while they already had an unemployment problem and had economic issues going on. So do you think they really want to pay to keep some large force just camped out at the western Ukrainian border? That makes no sense at all. Not unless there's something to gain. There is a profit motive here. You have to think about this. They're not just putting their forces there just for something to do. Anyway, I do expect that in the very near future, those Polish and Lithuanian forces are going to enter western Ukraine, with or without the permission and agreement of Ukraine. So this is getting interesting. Of course, I don't remember if Lithuania is part of NATO. I think they are. But so if they invade another country, aren't they, whether they encounter Russian forces or not, aren't they violating the NATO, EU charters? I'm pretty sure that they are. Will they have the support? Well, I guess they don't really need the support because dang near all of the weapons that have been going to Ukraine have been going through Poland. So they've got all of these weapons on their territory intended for Ukraine. But if they go and invade Ukraine, those weapons aren't going to Ukraine. Poland's keeping them. Poland's using them. What will be the NATO and EU response to this? It's going to be interesting to see. What kind of mental, political distortions, gymnastics are they going to do to justify this? It's unlikely at this point. I don't even believe that it will be condemned. I think that they will find a way to justify it. Oh, well, they're doing this so that if Russia invades, then so that Russia doesn't seize those territories. But Russia has no intent of seizing all of Ukraine in the first place. So that's not a justification. Anyway, let's wait and see what happens with this. It's getting kind of entertaining, really. All right, so share this video. Talk about these subjects. If you can afford it, please donate whatever you can to help expand this channel. and my presidential campaign, and I will catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Hope you have a good day.